take a look at the song Malagueña, and I did an arrangement here that goes basically in the key of D minor, but we're playing a lot of A and B flat chords. And in the middle section, we're going to go from a C7 to F. It goes from D minor, the relative major is the key of F. So one flat in the key signature, the note B flat. But we're also going to use a scale. It's like an F scale, but we're going to add a C sharp in there. That brings out the A major tonality in the piece. So it's a really beautiful piece coming from the flamenco and Spanish tradition from Andalusia. And we're going to use some basic flamenco sorts of techniques, just sort of introduction to some of the style. It's in 3/4, it's a fast tempoed waltz, and we're going to use our thumb to play a bass line. That's a really famous part of this piece, is this bass line. Arpeggiating, all with the thumb, over an A major chord, 2, 1, and 0, from A to C sharp and an E. This sounds best with a low G tuning. High G can work, but when you get to the 4th string, the melody is going to sound a little off because it's not this low pitch. We want to hear that nice low A instead of... It still works though with the high G. It still has an interesting sound. It's just a different sequence of pitches. So if we play this low line, then we're going to go from a D in measure 3 to F, E, D, C, then B flat on the 4th string. That's the 3rd fret. Then you repeat. Then ascend, D, E, F, right up the scale, G, then high string A and B flat. Now later in the piece, we're going to play that A and B flat on the 2nd string, and you'll see why in a second. So you could actually do it that way every time if you prefer, to move up the string. And in that case, we're going to do E, F, then pivot with a guide finger to the 3rd fret of the 2nd string for the G, and then you get the A with your 3rd finger, B flat on the 2nd string with the pinky. So that one position shift up to 3rd fret, still using your thumb in your right hand to play all the notes. So we're going to play this line once, and then we're going to repeat it, but we're going to add in the upbeats. This is where it starts getting fun. We're going to add the high A string open on upbeats between every pitch. So these are all quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When it repeats. Now going up high, I'll stay on the high string here. And then the technique here is your thumb is still playing the exact same thing in the bass, but we're alternating middle, index on the high string. You can choose to start with index. I wrote middle to index in the score, but if you prefer to start thumb index instead of thumb N, that's totally fine. Do what feels good for you. So we're going to count that 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. You want to practice this incredibly slowly. You can even think of these as quarter notes to start out with. 1, 2, 3, and 1 and 2 and. Then it goes up. Thumb is playing the 2nd string. You're still alternating the high string. All the way up to that 6th fret B flat, and you still play the open string, and that gives your hand a chance to move to do strumming, which is going to be the next section. And we call this rasgueado, this type of strumming that's used in a lot of Spanish music. But that's one of the main challenges, that section from measure 9 to measure 15, or measure 16. And you could just start by doing an exercise over the A chord. 1, 2, 3, getting that nice high A to play as a upbeat in between the bass notes. And really we want to try to bring out the melody in the bass. So that's louder. So with this style, you can really dig in with your thumb. Go for it. And really press into the string. You can do a rest stroke or a free stroke where you clear the next string, but just really get a full sound out of the thumb. That's the goal. You can work the tempo up. Really fun to play. Now, at that point, we're going to play the open string and go into strumming. all the strum is, you can start out with a basic strum, just using your index finger. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and. If I mute the strings, down, down, up, down, up. 1, 2, and 3, and. But often in Spanish waltzes like this, we're going to put an accent on beat 2 by doing, it's called a rasgueado, which means back the nails. And just if we're going to fan out our fingers. And you'll notice in the music, it's interesting, it's a letter you don't often see when describing right-hand fingers. We have P, I, M, A, Q is for pinky. So we're going to go pinky, third, second, and first in the right hand. You make a fist, so it's Q, A, M, I. In this quick burst, you can practice just planting your thumb, let's say on the fourth string, right at the edge of the fingerboard. Just have it sitting there and try one finger at a time when you first start this, just to get the feel for it. Then you can start to do a nice fan. And this just creates an accent on beat 2. So we're going to go strum, rasgueado, then up strum, down strum with index. So you're going from your index, all the 4 fingers, then back to index. So that attack on beat 2 with a roll, that's what you want to practice. And try to get clarity out of the notes. So make it into an exercise. We'll look at this as a whole lesson of just moving your fingers to get a rasgueado working. So spend some time practicing that. Then we move to a B flat chord without barring. So the high string's open. 3, 2, 1, 0. Same strumming pattern, then short strums. That chord up 2 frets to what's called the C6, and then back, and then repeat. See how I'm releasing the pressure with those moving chords, so that, and those are all down strums. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Staccato, it gives it a lot of emphasis and power. And what I do at the end, I strum the A chord, and then I arpeggiate, thumb, 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 second string down. So we get, you could use a finger to do that, to your thumb on the low string, but I decided to use my thumb for the notes going down. Now at that point, that's basically the piece, the main theme of the piece. And often you hear many, many different variations on Malagueña. And so I just came up with my own thing here, and I did it. Changed the key of F, the relative major, playing a C7, then F. That repeats. A high melody that comes down to F. So I'm basically holding a C7, first fret of the high string. But here, we're using wonderful variety of technique in the piece. We use that repetition with the bass line with our thumb in the beginning, the rasgueado strum. Now we're going to use arpeggiation with some block chords. So we're going to just use no ring finger, but thumb, index, and middle on the top 3 strings, then arpeggiate. Then we alternate M and I on the high string for this melody. Then fall right back into an F chord, playing the 4th, then top 2 strings, same fingers. Then move your thumb to the 3rd string, arpeggiate, play the melody and repeat. Then the pinky in the left hand goes up to the 5th fret, to the 3rd with the 2nd finger, to the 1st down. Back to that F chord. Then we arpeggiate measure 34 going down. Then the C7, F, B flat, then arpeggiate A. And there I use middle, index, thumb, thumb. That's a nice fingering for that. So that completes that middle section. Just a nice pause from the main theme into the relative major key. Then we're back to, it ends nicely with that B flat. Very Spanish ending back to the A. That sets us up. At that point, you could go back to the top of the song if you want to extend this, repeat the whole thing. I added a variation here, same exact bass line as before. I'm just adding 2 notes now on the high string. I'm going thumb, middle, index, a triplet. Great practice to get this triplet going. So that happens twice. There's a repeat there at measure 50. The next step from that, if you want to try this, is tremolo with 3 fingers on top, thumb, ring, middle, index. That's a really nice addition. These are 16th notes, very quick. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But start with, of course, just the thumb, then just 1 finger, then the 2-finger triplet. That's what's written here. Practice it incredibly slowly. 1, 2, 3. And I'm always playing PMI, PMI, thumb, middle, index for that. So you go through that when it ascends up to the 6th fret. You still play the 2 notes on top, then right back into our strumming. B flat, C, B flat. It happens twice, then slow down. 1, 2, 3. You could do some kind of roll at the end for the final chord. For the last A, or just use your thumb if you want to go soft. You could arpeggiate. So be creative with how you end it. And that could continue on. You could do all sorts of other variations, do inversions of the chords. Listen to some different versions of the song and you see what I mean. There are lots of different ways of interpreting it. But this is a really fun start, and I hope you enjoy checking out Malagueña.